Hey, welcome back to the Chill Spot Podcast.
Hello.
I definitely told Sam we were starting the podcast.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I was like, hey, Sam, we're starting the podcast right now. Here we go and go right now and go.
You came over, you sat down, you clicked once, didn't even do an audio test like we do sometimes, even though we've been recording all day, and just said, welcome to the Chill Spot Podcast, caught me completely with my pants down. And I'm wearing overalls today, so that's hard.
So your pants were off.
Yeah.
Like
I was naked.
Yeah, you were actually in the corner with just a shirt on.
Yeah.
Butt
just
out.
just looking around, wondering what the heck just happened here. Just lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we like to keep our hosts on their toes here at Chill Spot, That's really what we're about.
Or on their ass, I suppose.
Woo!
Exposed and in the air.
And it's your ass.
Oh my God. So, I, at this point, have mentioned my former professor, Toby, who I've been working with lately.
Tobes
Malone.
The Maloner.
The Maloner, Patroner. I wanted to say,
nice one.
I wanted to say boner, but that's inappropriate, and I wanted to say stoner, which is also inappropriate. So I had to come up with something else, and I guess Patron is it's a tequila. He's not a tequila person.
The Toby Patronus.
The Toby
is Toby your Patronus?
Yeah, exactly.
Like when you're like, Expecto Patronum, and he pops out,
and he's like, actually, this is inaccurate. This is actually what I wanted to talk about because Toby has been shotgunning the Chill Spot Podcast.
I'm so sorry.
We just skyrocketed to the top of his Apple charts.
Yeah,
and
his Spotify Rap 2021 is all Chill Spot.
Which I appreciate so much, but he comes in to our work group chat every once in a while and he'd be like, so I was listening to the podcast today and you mentioned this thing here and I just wanted to tell you that and I don't mean to actually you, but it's not correct.
What's some of the stuff that he's corrected us on, if I could ask?
Okay, so the one episode where we bitched and complained about King Lear and I forgot King Lear's daughter's name. Mm-hmm. It's Cordelia.
I thought I say that in the podcast.
I don't know that we do, but
right.
He was like, I can't believe you just, because Toby is like the Shakespeare guy.
Well, yeah.
He's not the person that I was hoping would listen to my rant about how much I fucking hate King Lear and
right.
Shakespeare as a whole, really.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore, but at that time, I definitely was not.
You felt a ways. I felt a ways.
Definitely was not jazzed to hear him say that, but whatever. I'm trying to be more vulnerable. And then the other day, I actually felt really stupid about this because I think we were talking about. I think he listened to the episode we were talking about 1917 or war movies.
Wow, is he that must mean he's in the 40s already.
He's up there.
Damn.
Up there.
He's gonna be week to week before we know it.
Yeah, he listens to 4 episodes a day. He's going through it.
Good for him.
He, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Toby is a dramaturge, which means, and I've referred to this profession lovingly as being a paid know-it-all.
Yeah.
You hire a dramaturg to know everything about the time period that your project.
You hire a dramaturg to make sure your show is good.
Yeah, and accurate.
That's how that works.
Yeah, 100%. So the facts mean a lot to Toby, and he's very good at what he does. So we were talking about war movies, and I think we made some joke about what if Quentin Tarantino made a war movie? And he was like, I can't believe you just said what if Quentin Tarantino made a war movie, as if Inglourious Bastards didn't exist. And I was oh my God. Actually, thank you for pointing that out. That's the biggest dumb bitch moment I've had in my entire life, because Inglourious Bastards is one of the best Tarantino movies ever,
sure.
in my opinion.
It's a great movie.
Seriously, it's newer, but people go back and look at they go back and look at Foxy Brown and Reservoir Dogs, and they're Inglourious Bastards is up there with those older Tarantino movies that shot him to fame.
It's not a lukewarm Tarantino movie. It's a highly
fantastic,
very well respected Tarantino.
Yeah,
film.
it is not The Hateful Eight.
Well, okay, let's not open that can of worms.
It's been really fun to have Toby read me to filth.
Right.
In the group chat, to have an actual dramaturg art podcast where we just dick around all the time.
This actually, this is a unique opportunity to talk about our podcast in a more mechanical sense, where it's you guys don't understand. There's lots of podcasts who record for hours at a time, cut together the best cut.
Yeah.
This is quite literally an hour of our week.
Is what you get.
There are times where we don't keep our phones on us when we do this. Like we just talk about shit that we hear sometimes.
Yeah.
That like we're not even fact checking anything.
No.
You know, like, and I said this on stream a couple weeks ago, but it is. I will stand by the fact that the description of our podcast is we generally have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is not us trying to be accurate, and like for that reason,
We're
like,
not a fucking news podcast.
No,
not Philip DeFranco. We're not fucking CNN.
Did you say news podcast and then say Philip DeFranco?
Actually, Philip DeFranco is a lot of people respect him as something as like
as a news source.
Well, apparently his operation has become far more legitimate.
I was gonna say, because we've had the conversation before where it's like Philip DeFranco isn't news; he's just like telling you news stories.
It's op-eds, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
however,
has he upped his game in recent years?
Okay. I was actually I got the lowdown from someone who watches Philip every week, right?
Okay.
Because I said what I said to them.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. I have a very outside in opinion on Philip DeFranco. I don't watch any of his content, but I do take issue with someone calling his content news when it is in fact opinion pieces.
Yeah.
You know, there's a very delicate balance to be found there, right? And I was corrected to say that Philip in recent days has separated his unbiased factual reporting of news and his opinion videos.
Good.
And has since become a far more legitimate news source. As a matter of fact, I believe he's actually trying to build a network, like an online YouTube news network.
Okay.
Through his like podcasting and stuff like that.
I'm down for growth.
You know, I'm here in episode 74 of the Chill Spot podcast saying that I had the wrong idea about Philip DeFranco.
Oh, well, I think you had the right idea about Philip DeFranco at the time, but now that he's growing, we can be open-minded to maybe changing our opinions.
I think he's a nice. Like,
now that we've gathered some new information.
Yeah. Politically, I align with Philip DeFranco.
No, and that was never the problem.
And he seems like
a
nice guy.
That was never the problem with him. The problem was people only getting quote unquote news from Philip DeFranco, and it's like old Philip DeFranco, at least, because it sounds like he's changing. You know, he didn't fact check, and he didn't.
I think he fact checked, but it's the opinion thing, a matter of things where it gets lost.
You have to be very careful when you get your news source from somebody who is espousing an opinion, because what that's going to do to your critical thinking is you are then going to absorb that person's point of view, and you're not going to consider other points of view, and that's not what good critical thinking is. And in these times, critical thinking is everything.
And then what's the difference between that and like what KCI does, or like Keemstar? Or like these drama tubers. You never heard of these people?
No.
KCI, Keemstar?
No.
They're drama tubers. What they'll be like, they start drama and beef with people and then report on beef. Like, Keemstar lives in like Logan Paul's ass.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just sort of the sphere.
He's part of that house?
Oh, no. Like, they don't. Keemstar, it makes. Like, I don't know how to explain it any better. Like, they're drama tubers.
Okay.
They literally report, cause, and make all of their content revolving drama and takedowns.
Okay.
They're the goddamn tabloids of YouTube.
Okay.
Right? That's more or less what they are.
Okay.
I stand corrected. I went out of my way to watch a couple of Philip's videos, and like I can't stress enough how like the opinion he's giving is measured and like succinct and like well thought out, and certainly aligns with the things that I believe.
Yeah.
Right? So like I'm not adverse. I think I even subbed to him because like why not, right?
Yeah.
Like I'd like to show support in that
That's
way.
free.
And it cost me nothing. And you know, whether or not I watch his videos is one thing, but I'm glad to see that Philip DeFranco approaches his medium and especially his massive fan base with responsibility. Like, who am I, right? Like, I don't have any right to tell Philip DeFranco what to do or how to behave.
No, but like when it comes to the news, and like this has been so important, especially over these last 4 years. When it comes to the news, it is so important to be critical and to consider what angle the person giving you your news is playing at.
And see if there's any objectives or any underlying like motives.
You know, like if there are any sort of sentences that, you know, angle you towards believing or thinking about something in a certain way. There's telling what happened, and then there's saying this happened and this is bad.
Right.
You know, like who's to say if it's bad or not? It's the news. Just tell me what happened. Like that's what the news should do, you know? Excuse me. And that's why you need to be careful, especially with these like quote unquote news YouTubers. And this was my criticism of Philip DeFranco beforehand, where he would say like, Now, this person did this thing, and whether or not you think he's a fucking idiot or whatever, and it's like, he wouldn't say that like verbatim, but he would say things like, he would use tone of voice, or he would make statements after
his
the fact
opinion.
that color his opinion towards the matter. And it's like, the news isn't about reporting. The news shouldn't be about your opinion. It's about what happened.
Yeah.
So that people can form their own opinions about the matter.
Well, yeah, it's no different than 24-hour news networks, right? Where it's like, there's that statistic that's like, there's actually 30 minutes of news every day.
Yeah.
And then the other 23 and a half hours is just like blistering opinion.
Yeah.
About like, here is exactly what we're going to tell you in an effort to demonize the people that we're vilifying every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like CNN, Fox News, it's all the same score.
Yeah.
Like, they just pick someone.
Even like MSNBC, like they're on different sides of the political spectrum. But
Yeah.
you still get opinions in there. Especially when, as like you said, like when you're on for 24 hours, like what do?
Yeah.
There's only so much news in a day.
Well, and then like again, like news now, modern news is all about ratings and are they watching, and like it's just as much a TV network is than HBO is, or like Showtime or something. Showcase, right? Whatever. So like it's a bummer, but I think that
it's our job as the public to apply critical thinking to these things.
I get
and
people's
for ourselves.
I get people's mistrust of the news. Like I understand that notion.
You should mistrust the news. Like
a little
it's not. I know, like people make it seem like it's a thing that you have to be paranoid about, and you don't have to live in this constant state of paranoia. But you shouldn't 100% trust the news. Think about yourself and your values and what you believe, and like use that to reflect upon what's being said to you, so you can stay true to yourself and your core beliefs. Like you shouldn't 100% trust the news because it's people and people mess up. Like we can, reporters can have all of these, code of ethics to try and be as unbiased as possible. And some reporters are excellent at it.
Yeah.
And I love them for that. But people are people. And at the end of the day, it's my responsibility, and it's all of our responsibilities as adults to be critical of everything that we see. I love Anderson Cooper, but like, he's a person.
Right.
And he gets riled up sometimes.
Oh, he made that comment. A couple of weeks ago, he made some joke, like I think he made like a fat joke about Trump or something, or like he burned Trump in some way.
Yeah, and it's like that feels so good, but that's not news.
But he did, though, to Anderson Cooper's credit, and I'll give him full credit for this. He came out and said like, I'm sorry, that's not me.
Yeah,
like that wasn't that didn't properly get across how I felt.
Yeah.
And it was immature. And like he actually apologized.
And kudos to him for doing that. Not everybody, like not all reporters, very few actually would say that. And that's why we as the public have to be critical. It's not a state of constant paranoia that we have to live in. It's just, you got to know that people are inherently biased. We bring bias to every single thing that we do, no matter how hard we say, we humans, we come up with these little like rules. We're like, okay, so like, somebody's got to give us bad news about what's going on in the world. Okay, so like you Anderson Cooper, you're going to be the person that gives us the bad news. But if you're going to do it, you have to make this little promise. You have to make this little promise to be as unbiased as possible. Okay, you're not going to be biased? You're not going to be biased? Okay. And it's like we're human beings. Like we can't do that permanently.
I mean, this podcast is an example of that.
We can try. And like, I think that Anderson Cooper is one of those people who tries as hard as he possibly can. And I appreciate that. And that's why I don't mind getting my news from Anderson Cooper and listening to him.
Because you think that he's trying to be as impartial as possible. Yeah.
But I don't think humans can ever be 100% impartial.
No, everything has a bias to it. Like I said just now, like this podcast is an example of that. This podcast is quite literally biased towards you and I.
Yes.
Like it's quite literally our opinions. If you don't have the
same point of view that we do, you're not going to have a good time at the Chill Spot podcast.
Well, I disagree with that. I don't necessarily think you need to like agree with everything we say. I just don't think that you should be taking what we say and applying it to your life. Because I don't do that when I listen to podcasts like this one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll listen to a podcast like ours.
We're not trying to be that.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to like. I know earlier on. I mean, for many episodes, we used to do like these lessons or whatever, right? At the end of podcasts, and we since stopped doing them.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted the lessons to be a dumbass bit where we'd be like, lesson number 1 is like, don't shit in your cornflakes or whatever. But they just turned into something too preachy.
Yeah.
And that is not what I wanted this podcast to be like at all.
Yeah.
It got morphed into something it wasn't ever meant to be. So we just stopped doing them.
Yeah. Truth is hard, man. The truth is hard.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest lie that has ever been told to you?
Biggest lie?
Has anyone ever I don't know, has a girlfriend ever been like, oh, you're so good at kissing, and then the next time you kiss somebody, they were like, so you're a slobbery mess, and it just fucked you up.
Been really had the rug swept out from under me.
Yeah.
I gotta think about that. Do you have an example? You go first.
I was on an indoor soccer team when I was a kid. And when I started the season, I felt a little outcast, but slowly felt more and more accepted as time went on and got along with those girls. And then a couple years later, I was in middle school with one of the girls on my team. And she was like, yeah, when you were on the field, we just talked about how floofy your hair was and made fun of it all the time on the sidelines. And I was like, well,
what a bunch of assholes.
Fuck you too.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Thought you liked me.
I see what you mean now. There was this kid, yeah, I guess he was a teenager at the time. I'm not going to say his name. So he played on the football team with me, and he was not well liked at all.
Mm-hmm.
This kid is a classic shithead. Pretty sure still in high school. You know what I mean? Total shitbag, loser, asshole.
Yeah.
Would make his Facebook name his quote unquote gang name. You know,
right.
he was a white kid asshole.
Right.
But I in high school always tried to be nice to everybody.
Yeah.
So he would talk to me and I would just talk back and be nice. But then I found out from another player that he was straight up just talking shit about me all the time.
Oh, well, fuck you.
Well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm okay, dude. But then the problem is that he does that to everybody.
Yeah.
But he's so stupid because what he doesn't realize is that if you walk over to someone on the team who's friends with me and start talking shit about me to them, they're just going to walk over to me and be like, hey, dude, that guy said this about you just now.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Actually, I'm not going to go into any details. I'm going to spare all details in an effort not to get specific. I found out that a certain someone in my life in high school had very strong opinions of me and my ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
But this was a close friend.
Okay.
Who thought we were fucking gross and thought I was gross and a loser.
Okay.
You know, really, really apparently was not nice to us at all behind our backs. And we were friends for years.
Who the hell cares?
I mean, I certainly don't, not anymore.
I know, but what do you mean by gross? Did you guys tongue each other in the hallway?
Not really. No.
What is gross?
I don't know.
How are you gross?
Ever since that blew up and that happened, I don't think I've spoken a word to this person.
Oh, so there was a blowout.
There was a blow up, yeah.
Oh, okay. There was confrontation.
Yeah. This is kind of petty of me.
Did you walk up to him and was like, yo, what the fuck?
Yeah, yo, girl, what the hell, guy? What the H, girl? No, but this person, it's many years later, and no one's going to care.
Mm-hmm. No personal drama, it's fine.
But many at the time, this person was hosting pre-prom at their house.
Okay.
And my mom was like, we're going to host pre-prom here. And I was like, oh, it's okay because this person wants to host it. Let them host it. Mom was like, that's fine. Let's host it. Then the blow up happens.
Right.
And I was like, we're having the biggest fucking pre-prom. And we're inviting every goddamn kid in grade 12 to this fucking pre-prom.
Oh my God. And then everybody, because I've seen the pictures, your backyard was packed.
There was 200 kids there, yeah.
Yeah, there was the entire school was in your house.
It was pre-COVID for sure.
100%. Oh my God.
Can't do that shit anymore.
No.
No, we had to get, there was actually so many kids that we actually had to line the boys up for their own picture and then line the girls up for their own picture because if we did couples, it would just, there's no room.
Yeah.
And that was a banger, yeah. And it was all built on spite and pettiness.
Wow. See, okay, this is so funny because I gotta start taking you aside at these things because, we hang out with your parents every night before stream. We sit and we have dinner with them and we talk, and they tell stories all the time about family stuff and your high school days and your childhood.
They're very reminiscent,
and their perspective on everything is so obviously from the perspective of a parent who people try to be on their best behavior around. So they're like, oh, this kid, like, they were so sweet that you could tell that they had some stuff going on, but overall they were ultimately harmless, like, wouldn't hurt a soul. And then, like, especially when your brother was still living here, like, you know, like, dinner would end, and then we would go do our thing, and then we would come back upstairs, and you and Duncan would get to talking, and you'd be like, so that guy was a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
and he was an asshole to everybody, and he didn't deserve any of the shit that he got, and he was a complete two-faced bitch.
Right.
And everybody hated him, and everybody deserved to hate him, because he was the worst person. And I get whiplash in the funniest way, because it's so funny to have your parents be like, oh, like, Timmy was just, yeah, you know, he was a bit of an issue in class, but oh, he's harmless. And then they turn around and they walk away, and things die down a little bit, and then you and your brother just go, Timmy was a fucking jerk.
Yeah,
I never liked Timmy.
No,
Nobody liked Timmy.
Timmy kept talking about his foreskin all day. Like, he wouldn't shut up about his fucking foreskin. Like, oh, we get it. You're not circumcised. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Which I think is so funny.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can't tell your parents, and there's no point, especially because they know some of these kids still. Like, they see them also around town. So, like, they can't, you know, you can't tell them anything, because it's just,
well, who cares?
They live in their own little world, and, like, why burst
that was 7 years ago.
Why burst their bubble?
None of these people that we talk about are still these people.
I know.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but sometimes they are. Sometimes
not everybody
they still
changes.
are.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, though.
And it's just like, man. Oh, God. I love it. I love waiting for the parents to go away, and then just, like, spilling the real tea. It's so funny. It's
such a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would, to answer your question, that would probably be what the biggest example of that would be.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm constantly worried that people have just been lying to me about my acting abilities for my whole life. But I don't think that's going to go away.
Man, yeah, exactly, man. If we acted in this is gonna sound so corny. If we did everything in accordance to our haters, then we wouldn't get anywhere.
I'm gonna buy you a T-shirt that says "Loading Haters" and, like, it's 70% floral on the bar.
Give me one of those snapbacks that says "I heart haters."
I heart haters!
Exclamation point.
Haters are my motivators, but instead of A, it's the number 8 for some reason. My
motivators.
My motivators.
Absolutely.
Oh man, my favorite thing I knew a bunch of people who were like, "Yo, fuck the hate! Like, I have so many haters. Like, fuck haters." Like, you think that this many people dislike you because they're hating on you? No. And you have no introspection into maybe why they hate you?
Yeah.
Like, I really gotta wonder what life is like for some of these people.
There's not letting the haters get you down, and then there's just painting yourself to be the villain in a story that doesn't matter.
No.
And will never matter.
Yeah.
Has no credence running your life at all. And especially high school. It's like, what haters do you have in high school? It's kind of like there's this
Bethany from the class over.
There's this old Will Smith song from, like, early on in his rapping days called, like, Parents Just Don't Understand, and he's like, there's this line that goes like, "Come on, Mom and Dad, you're gonna ruin my rep," and then the parents go, "You're only 17, you don't have a rep yet." And it's like, as a kid, I was like, oh, it's so ridiculous. Like, parents just don't understand. Like, that's the whole message of the song.
No, it's 100% true.
But it's 100% true. And the same thing goes for haters. It's like, you're only 17. You don't have haters.
Yeah.
You don't have haters. You don't have anything for anybody to hate on you for.
Exactly.
I know you think that, like, the person making fun of you in class is a hater, quote unquote, but they can't do anything to you.
They have no power over you.
They have no power to actually make your life better or worse in any situation. Like, calm down. This is ridiculous. This is pointless.
I very much agree.
Yeah. I never even got that in high school. I was like, who hates you in high school? Who truly hates you? I don't think anybody does.
I only hate, like, truthfully hate, like
Donald Trump.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it. Because I thought about people that I like, people who I just, like, genuinely dislike.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I really hate them, though? Like, no, I don't want them. I don't want them to be, like, I don't want their life to get worse.
No, like, I genuinely think, like, if the ground fell out from underneath us and somebody was clinging on to a cliff and there was a pit of lava below them and all I had to do was grab onto their hand and save their lives, would I let them fall? And there are actually very few people in my life.
Literally one for me.
There are people who I dislike greatly, but I wouldn't let them fall into a pit of lava.
No,
I would ultimately
yes.
save their life.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day...
I would let Donald Trump fall into the pit of lava. He is unsavable. You can't rehabilitate that man.
It's true. He's too far gone.
He's just like, he
He's
needs
so
to fall
far
into a
gone.
pit of lava. But he truly is a supervillain. But like, I think about like, there's this guy that I hate.
What's his name?
He knocked up one of my mom's friend's kids when she was really, really young and like
Cool.
treated her like shit.
What's his address? And VPN. An IP
VPN,
address.
his IP address.
Yeah.
No, like I hate him. And I have often said like, oh, he's one of those people, like if I see him in the streets, like that's on sight. But realistically, no.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, no, yeah, obviously.
If he was physically here right now, I would like to have some words with him, yes. But would I actually want to cause him harm?
No.
No.
Actually, it's
if
funny,
I had the
Sam.
power to make his life hell, would I? No.
Oh, yeah, because you're not torturous or sadistic.
If someone was like, push this button, this man's house will fall apart, I wouldn't push it.
No, I'd be like, are you also going to give me money or something? Because like that's not enough of a reward.
It's like, no, I really don't have that much hate in my heart. And I think we all really don't have as much hate in our heart as we think that we do.
I don't got the time to hate people, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of emotional weight.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at CNN and see Donald Trump's dumbass orange mug, I'm like, my day is getting worse.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I could feel it getting, and so I just don't look at it as much.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny? That person you mentioned just now,
Yeah.
talking about your specific story,
Yeah.
ages ago, gave me insight into who you are as a person. Because this is
So how hard I can hold on to a grudge for it.
well, it's a stark difference. And I'm gonna give you full credit here. Like, you've come a long way in terms of this.
Yeah.
But when we first started dating, a stark difference between you and I is that I don't hold grudges. I don't hold grudges for anything. Like, I don't think that, in my opinion, being angry about something you can't do anything about, specifically in regards to a person, means that person wins.
Yeah.
They're living rent-free in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's my perspective, purely my own perspective.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was talking to you, and you were talking about this story and talking about this guy, and I can see that you were getting like more than just like how do I say this? More than just like performative storytelling anger.
Yeah.
Like, you were legitimately going back to that place.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you're like still mad about this. You're like, yep. But I'm like, but it was this many years ago. And you were like, yep. Like, still just as fresh, just as hot.
Yeah.
But like, the fact that you now can say what you just said and like not go to that place shows growth.
I still have anger towards the situation. If I can be frank,
Please.
I'm cool to talk about this because I think that I think if this comes back to me and I have to deal with this, I could, because I could articulate my feelings about this.
Sure.
This person who got pregnant with her first child very young, she was a role model to me. So my mom has a really, really, really close friend, like a best friend, like a sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this woman has been the emergency contact for me on things. Whenever an emergency contact sheet says you have to list somebody other than your mom, I put this woman down. This woman is not related to me by blood, but she is family.
She's your
Her
auntie.
family is my family.
Yeah.
She has 3 kids. They all babysat me at one point in my life. And when I was a kid, they were teenagers.
Oh, so they were the coolest people.
They were the coolest people.
Yeah.
And her middle child, like, I can say this now because, like, I know that nobody else the other 2 kids won't take this personally.
Do they also do they even listen to the podcast?
No.
There you go.
But the middle child, in my eyes, was the coolest. This person, like,
Favorites, are we?
She had blonde streaks in her hair. This was the early 2000s when, like, big chunky streaks in your hair was cool.
Totally is.
She had parties when it wasn't her birthday.
Oh, shit.
And her friends came over and they brought, like, cool, you know that colored light that was so popular in the early 2000s? It was a sphere with multicolored dots on it, like plastic dots, and it shot different colored, like, circles around the room, and it spun in a circle. Her friends would bring, like, that light over, and they would go into the basement, and, like, all of her teenage friends would, like, go downstairs and they would, like, have a party, but it wasn't a birthday party. It was like a boy-girl party.
Whoa.
For no reason other than just to have a party.
And little Sam was like, that's hot.
And I would go over. My mom would be over at her house because she would be like my aunt, I call her my aunt. She would be like, yeah, like, she's having a party. I'm chaperoning, but we're just going to sit upstairs and hang out and let the kids do their thing. Why don't you come over? So my mom would bring me over because I was a little kid at the time and I'd have to go everywhere with my mom. And I would see this. I would see the kids. I would see all the teenagers like coming upstairs and going back downstairs and listening to them like talk about their teenage problems. And I thought it was so fascinating. And then I would go over.
How old were you? Like could you give an age?
I was in elementary school. I was between the ages of like
7?
6 and 12.
Somewhere in that range. Okay.
You know, was when I would have to like go over to my aunt's house and like see these kids be teenagers for my entire childhood. And, you know, like I would go over and like their oldest son would be like playing Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation and like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And the middle kid would be having parties. And the youngest kid would be like, you know, like prank calling like the neighbors on the phone with her friends because they had this friend who lived across the street who had a really good Kermit the Frog impression.
Oh my God.
And they would like prank call each other. And I worshipped these kids.
Yes.
And the middle one who I worshipped the most and thought was so cool and so like gorgeous, started dating this guy when she was in high school.
Total loser.
Who is just a fucking little twerp.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to get too specific, but he was just one of those twerpy teenage guys.
Certified dweeb behavior.
He like talk like this,
hey,
like unironically, like.
Could I have a fucking glass of water?
Yeah. And I always thought he was a loser.
Sure.
And then she got pregnant by him, and
in high school,
and it just and. You know, this isn't very feminist of me. I wasn't super feminist yet. But
like,
I was
she's
like,
a whore!
Yeah. And I was like, in my mind when that happened, I was like, how could you let this happen? How could you let this happen?
How could you do this to me?
I idolize you, and you did this thing. You fucked up your life. You're fucking up your life. She was like 18, 19 when she got pregnant, and you're fucking up your life. You're ruining your chances to go anywhere.
I'm sure her kid feels great about this.
You are so cool, and you are so smart, and you are so, like, I just think, like, I was like, you have parties when it's not your birthday. You were going to go so far.
You had so much ahead of you.
You had so much potential.
Think of all the parties you could have had not on your birthday.
Did all of those afternoons watching Seventh Heaven mean nothing to you?
What are you going to do with this rainbow light? What are you going to do with the rainbow light? Can't have it when the baby's around. It's bad for the baby.
You see why I tell this story now, right?
Of course, yes.
This was totally.
But this consumed you as a kid.
This consumed me as a kid.
Yeah.
It completely consumed me.
I know the feeling.
She fell from such grace in my eyes.
Sure.
And it really fucked me up. And this guy. Well, first of all, like, he deserves it because he was a loser. He wasn't ready to be a dad. And, you know, like, I should take this into consideration. He was 18, 19 at the same time. So, like, consider that.
Oh, yeah, you think you wanted to have a kid at 19? I don't.
I can say, though, he hasn't gotten better. So there's that.
Yeah.
But,
like I said, certified dweeb.
But, like, it just... I took out all of my anger. I was like, you're the reason. I was like, you got her pregnant. You're the reason that my role model fell from grace in my eyes. You're the reason why at 12 years old, I have to learn the hard lesson that
people are fallible.
And to like not meet your heroes, essentially. Like, don't have heroes because they'll let you down.
You put a little bit too much stock.
You broke my hero.
In your cousin.
You broke my hero when you fucking impregnated her. Like, you fucked up, mate. And you're being an asshole. And, you know, he continued to, you know, like, they tried the engagement thing. They tried to, you know, they were like, okay, like, we're pregnant. Like, we got to stay together. It didn't work out. They're not together anymore. And things fell apart and shit happened. And, like,
that kid must be
that's
like
their
10
personal
now.
business. And I don't want to air it out. But, like, you know, while I watched all of this happen, and I want to keep it from my perspective so that I don't air people's shit out. But, like, from my perspective, like, watching the fallout of this all go down, I was like, I can't fucking believe this person that I looked up to is going through this. Like, this is terrible. This is awful.
Yeah, it shattered your world.
And he did that to her, which is not, it takes two to tango, I understand. But from it, when I was a kid, I was like, you did this to her.
Right.
You fucked up her life. She has to work 4 times as hard now to get a quarter of the way to where she would be if you had just left her alone.
If you just kept your penis in your pants.
And let her achieve her own greatness by herself. And I want to kill you now. because you ruined my role model. You fucked up her life.
Well, I love how Little Sam's perspective, like, you couldn't just be like, oh, but now she's a single mom, and like that's respectable.
Yeah.
No, it had to be like
this is where I say this was not very.
The flower of
feminist
sanctity was tainted.
Yeah, not very feminist of
You
me.
deflowered my hero.
Not very forward thinking.
Yeah, of course.
You have ruined her honor. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not forward thinking of me. Could have cooled down a lot.
You at 12, Sam, could have been a lot more woke. All right, I'm just saying it now.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
At 12.
Absolutely. No, this is not cool of me at all. Like, I own that and I stand in that. And, I could have been better and I have since gotten better, I think. But it's just like, man, I wanted to crush that guy for a really long time, and I still kind of do. He's not.
Well, he's a jerk off.
He's a jerk off.
I'm more mad. I'm less mad about the fact that, like,
I hear things every once in a while from my mom, and it's just like,
is he still around? Like a little bit?
Yeah. He's present in the kid's life, and for what it's worth, the kid that she had is great. I think he's the coolest.
I think I would have met him.
But yeah, you've met him once, I think. But so cool. And, everything turned out okay, and she's thriving right now. She's got a great job. She provides for her kid. That kid has never wanted for anything in his life, and he has the coolest grandparents in my aunt and uncle, and, like, it's all gravy now. And it always was. I was blowing it out of proportion because I was a kid.
Well, that's what happens.
I saw my role model fall off her pedestal.
You don't have the scope of the world when you're a kid, right?
Yeah.
So when things happen within your tiny world, you think you can go to the gas station and grab someone and be like, she got pregnant, and the guy would be like, get the fuck away from me. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was insane. But that was my role model, and she fell from grace in a way, and it was really hard for me to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, listen, if someone knocked up Shigeru Miyamoto and all of a sudden he was having a baby at 65 years old, I'd be really upset about that.
No, you wouldn't, because Shigeru Miyamoto is extremely successful and could afford a child at this point.
And a man.
If he got pregnant.
He's minus a ute.
Yeah. But, like, for me, it was like, this is going to be, like, her life is going to be so much harder, and this isn't what I wanted for this person who I looked up to so much.
Totally.
And I didn't want that for her. But I didn't have the, your world is so small, and your view is so small when you're a kid. Like, all you can see is just, kids are expensive and hard to take care of. And when you're 18, 19 years old, you're not ready yet to take on that kind of responsibility. And here she is doing it anyways. And oh my God, what is her life going to be like now? What have you done? What have you done?
I'm going to ask you this legitimately, because I definitely would have done. Like, I am definitely, if I was 12, this would how it would reflect in me. Do you think that you were more upset about how this affected you than how it affected anyone else, really? At 12, I mean? Because when you're young, and I mean, royal you, and myself included in this, typically when you're young, you're a lot more self-centered. And, like, your concerns mostly have to do with how things affect you.
Yeah.
Like, do you agree or disagree?
Maybe on, like, a subconscious level, because I wanted to be like her so much. I was like, oh, I guess I got to rethink my entire life now.
I guess I got to fuck someone at 18.
Look at how this ended up.
Totally.
But, no, I think that I was genuinely, like... I think I was genuinely worried about her.
Good.
I loved this person. If this is my adopted aunt and uncle, like, that's my cousin. Yeah. And she's going through it right now.
That's indicative of the person you are today as well.
Yeah, I have always been more concerned with other people than I have been myself. It's literally something I'm working through right now.
Oh, yeah.
At 26 years old, I was like, this isn't working for me anymore. And it hasn't for a really long time. But yeah, to answer your question, no, I was really like, your life is about to be so hard. And I don't want that for you, because I love you so much.
Right.
And I look up to you. And I want to continue looking up to you. But, I was taught through the media that...
The media.
Girls who get pregnant young and keep their kids are making a bad decision.
Right.
So I saw her making what I thought to be was a bad decision. It wasn't a bad decision, because now we have her child. Mm-hmm. And that child is a great person. And, I'm glad that he's here, and she got back up on her feet. And if anything, like, that's something to look up to, because
yeah, she's a single mom.
She worked really hard. She went back to school eventually. She has a great job right now, and she's providing for her and her son. So
fucking roll credits.
You know,
like we're good.
Ultimately, she's still someone to look up to.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I wish I had the wherewithal, but I also like can't be too hard on myself because I was a child at the time. I have to be nice to my inner child.
Well, you were 12. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you should bag on yourself for having these feelings.
No.
Because
I didn't know how to process it at the time. All I knew as a kid was just like my role model is struggling and in a really, really hard way. And that's not something you ever want to see. Mm-hmm. So it was just tough. I forgot how that started the whole thing. Oh yeah, talking about people who I would actually like fight and wish death upon. So I definitely took that out on him because I was like, you're the one who did this to her.
Right.
And I still don't think he's a good person. I still don't like this person. I think that he's a shitty human being just because of other things that I've learned about him since then. But, you know, like I think about how ultimately things worked out and ultimately this person that I looked up to, is thriving right now and is still a good person. Mm-hmm. And, you know, maybe I don't have to fight that guy on sight.
Yeah,
anymore
really.
Because, you know, like shit worked out.
Maybe we could just hate him for other things, like the fact he's a deadbeat or the fact he eats like crunchy peanut butter or something. You know, like just hate him on it for something else.
Yeah, exactly. He puts peanut butter on weird shit. It's
exactly.
Like, it's stupid.
I saw him cut the crusts off a piece of toast and dip it in the peanut butter jar, but double dip it. And I'm like, bro, that's the communal peanut butter jar.
He shared one of those life hacks that's like spread some peanut butter and jam on a cookie sheet and freeze it. Then you have instant PB&J. It's like just make a PB&J. It's
or
not that
just
difficult.
make a PB&J. It literally is so easy.
You're complicating this process, and I hate you for it. You're a bad person.
Can we talk about how there's so many life hacks, the quote unquote life hacks out there that really aren't worth the effort?
Just like add steps.
Yeah.
To things that don't need steps.
Like I saw one where it was like turn your like plastic bags into like a little deposit, and then you can wrap it up in neat little and then throw the garbage
pluck
out.
them out, and then you can pluck the bags out like a Kleenex box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, take an old Kleenex box and fold all of your plastic bags up like Kleenex, and then pluck them out of the Kleenex box.
Or put all your plastic bags in a bigger bag and then keep that bag somewhere. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I understand that it's ugly, but you know, this is our life.
Yeah, but Pinterest doesn't rule my life.
Yeah.
So like, fuck that.
I don't want to sit there every week and fold all these plastic bags in this really specific way just so that I can like take bags out for a week. Like
are people over mason jars now?
I think so, yeah.
People are officially over mason jars?
But you know what happened? The people who are into mason jars are into mason jars. And the trend isn't picking up new people anymore.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It's just you bought a mason jar with a handle on it.
It's got
from
its filthy
Home
hooks.
Sense
Yeah.
for $35, and you've been using it, and you're enjoying it. Congratulations. There's a milkshake straw, a plastic reusable milkshake straw sticking out of the top of it. You feel all bougie.
Actually,
and I hope you enjoy it, but this is done now.
I just realized that I'm a hypocrite because my bong is a mason jar.
Yeah, it is.
My Vega bong.
Yeah. But that's just it, right? You have it.
Yeah.
It looks like a mason jar. You own it.
Sparkling clean. I haven't used it in months.
And you're done.
Yeah.
You're done.
It's true.
The mason jar. We're done with the mason jar. We finished it. It's complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think like, not to turn the conversation onto weed, but I think as far as like you've never really been into bongs per se. You don't really like hitting bongs.
No.
Hitting bongs is a cool way to smoke weed. It's a pretty epic way to smoke weed, if I do say so myself.
I've never been trying to show off with my weed smoking though. I just want to get it done.
But no, see, because the difference is like whether you smoke a joint or smoke a pipe or rip a bong, like it's all different kinds of highs, right? It's all varying degrees of intensity. Having a bong is really great because you'll smoke less weed and get higher, but a bong is always gross. Like constantly.
Yeah.
Like even the people like even that mason jar, like the reason I bought it is so I could take it apart and wash it.
Yeah.
Right? So I can keep it clean.
Yeah, it's got parts to it.
But even then, if I skip on that for even 2 uses, like it gets dingy fast.
Yeah.
You know, I've had bongs that have gone like black.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, this is going in the trash.
Yeah.
Like I can't, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, it stinks. Like it's so rough to have around.
Yeah, I mean, like whenever one of my friends gets a new bong, they're like, "Isn't it so beautiful?" And I'm like,
now.
This one time, and it is all downhill from here.
That first rip,
I hope
though.
you know that.
Oh yeah.
I don't say that to them because that's mean.
Well,
and I just want to let them
what do you
enjoy.
do?
I want
Shit
to let
on
them
their
enjoy
life?
their new bong. Like I'm not going to shit all over your life, but in my head, I'm thinking like, yeah, for now. This
Totally.
you're gonna smoke this once, you're gonna smoke it twice, and then it's gonna get ugly.
My favorite
And then
thing when
it's just gonna be another ugly fucking bong.
Exactly. I think if you're gonna buy a bong, like this goes to show how much of a loser I am and how knick-knacky and stupid my interests are. Like if I'm gonna get like a bong, I want to get like a novelty bong. Like I got that like ketchup bottle one many years ago. That was fun because it was like, oh cool. Instead of Heinz, it says hits.
Yeah.
Or there's like mason jar one.
You love a shtick.
I do love a shtick.
Yeah.
Because it's like I could buy some like beautiful piece of blown glass and like have it as an art piece. You know I'm gonna use this to smoke weed, right? Like I feel kind of stupid.
You know I'm gonna use this to do drugs.
Yeah. I'm gonna buy this $200 like this Egyptian vase that's been fucking turned into a bong.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get why it's pretty and I get how I can put it on my shelf and have it be pretty, but it's gonna reek of weed and I'm gonna use it to smoke. Like, dude.
Give me an empty honey bottle that looks like a bear.
Exactly. Give me a Coke can, Give me Donkey Kong's head and call it Donkey Bong, Like, give me that shit.
Yeah.
Give me penis bong, like a big bong that's a dick. Like, I'd buy that. You had a friend who bought a penis pipe and she threw it away.
I know.
That's bullshit. Why would you not keep it? Are you joking? That is so funny.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
I feel like it's different when you're a girl, though. Like, if you're a girl and you take out a penis pipe and you smoke it seriously, like in all seriousness, you're like, this is my pipe, I use it.
You know that's a penis, right?
Are you 7? Like, are you fucking kidding me, dog? Like, did you just finish listening to Shoes by Kelly? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, that's some 2007 shit, dude.
Fuck out of here. Man, shout out to Kelly for coming back and telling us all to vote, though.
Just
when we needed her most. She came back.
Yeah, seriously.
Love her for that.
It's like in the Civil War comics where Cap goes to Hulk and has to beg him to fight and help us win the war.
Yeah.
So
Love her for that.
Hulk will fight for you. Yeah, it's hilarious.
It's great. But yeah, no, bongs are gross. Just leave them alone.
Yeah.
Where are we at? I want to move the conversation away from marijuana, but I don't have anything else. I don't have something immediately after
We're
that.
at 47 minutes. Do you want to end the podcast?
No, I hate 45-minute podcasts. It's like, oh, you can go 15 more minutes and just make it a whole hour?
Yeah.
Like, I hate that. I hate that so much.
Cyberpunk came out.
Okay.
Something to talk about.
Okay.
And it's been a total shit show.
So let me get it. So, like, I understand that this game has been pushed back for years.
7 years to be
7 years.
Yeah, it was announced in 2013.
Is Cyberpunk like a series?
Cyberpunk, I'm glad you asked. Cyberpunk is actually a tabletop role-playing series. Like Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay, and they turned it into a video game.
So yeah, because
so this is its first attempt at a video game.
There's been other Cyberpunk games, but this is the first like big budget made by a reputable studio, really trying to embody what the notion of Cyberpunk is. Because Cyberpunk, much like steampunk, is a narrative genre.
Okay.
Right? Like you can write stories in Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
And like have that be a thing, right?
Yeah, it's a world where like technology has been allowed to like really go wild, and like AI is perfected, but there's like consequences and like goods and bads to all of it, and like even like poor people in this world have like a certain technological vibe to them.
Actually, I would love to have our buddy Cole on the podcast, because Cyberpunk is literally what he wrote his master's on.
Cool.
And he's super, and like if you ever listen to this, I'm sorry, but like for what I understand about Cyberpunk, what really denotes Cyberpunk is it's sort of the grunge of it all, because it's typically Cyberpunk stories are told in very desolate, very like corporate has taken over the world, dystopian worlds, right? And what denotes Cyberpunk specifically is the merging of organic bodies and cybernetics. So like you have like a robotic eye, or like your hand can turn into a rocket launcher or something, right? Like like something that exudes color and violence is typically what denotes Cyberpunk. And I'm sure that I'm not doing the best explanation.
You definitely did better than me, which is just like, so even like poor people have computers in this world. It's like,
you're not wrong, but there's the biggest thing when it comes, because most Cyberpunk stories are deeply political, because they have to do with like I just said, like corporate takeover,
like surveillance,
and like surveillance, like Big Brother style, and like like there's all sorts of different stuff like that. It's extremely interesting, and I'm like, I actually buddy lent me this book called Neuromancer. It's like a famous cyberpunk book. But the language is so rough.
Yeah.
And he uses like techno jargon.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's like made up techno jargon.
Well, it's allowed to be fictional and made up.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's like everyone talks this way.
Yeah.
Like there's no like you know how like when we're talking
like a
right
character
now
will be like, so did you take the Jinky Janks and like put them in the Fizz Whip and you're supposed to know what that is?
Yeah, and I totally flumped the bump, you know? Like, it's like, absolutely. And it's like, what the fucking fuck are you talking about?
Yeah,
It's
Can I
obviously,
get a glossary?
It's far more brilliant than that, obviously, because it's a famous book.
But no, it doesn't hold your hand.
But I eventually lent it back to him because I never finished it and I had it for a long time. But I actually bought my own copy and I plan to read it. Because I think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the game came out and I'm excited to play. I've only played like the first 15 minutes, you know, like today, because it literally came out today as of we're recording this. And it's made by CD Projekt Red, the people who made The Witcher.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's, you know.
No, you were playing a little bit of it. The way our mornings go is that like I shower, which takes a really long ass time. And so like you go downstairs and play video games while you wait for me to finish. And then I finish and we have breakfast together.
Yeah.
So I finished everything, came downstairs. You were playing Cyberpunk, like the first kind of like opening notes of Cyberpunk. And, you know, you were in the middle of a cutscene. So I just like sat down and watched it and like let it finish. And it's something else. Like,
it's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely cool.
I'm really excited to get to the open world because so far it's been very directed. It's been very like, you know, point A, point B. You meet a character. It did this thing. This is a personal pet peeve of mine. It did this thing where you watch a cutscene of you and the other important characters doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I want to do that. It's a video game. This isn't taking advantage of the fact that this is a video game. Yeah. And again, this is purely personal.
Well, I made the point that if they're montaging you through all of that, then what you actually have to do must be like way cooler.
I certainly hope so. That's very optimistic.
Yeah, because like the stuff that they were showing you was very like, and this is gonna come out next week, so I don't feel bad because you've had a whole week.
Well, it's literally the first 10 minutes of the game. Like it's not spoilers.
But like it was very like slice of lifey. Like you and your pal went around and partied and
got some guns and robbed some people.
You know, like
lived the criminal life.
Hung out with the dude's mom a little bit. Like, you know, it was very like, I get that you would want to do that, and I understand, and it is a video game, so you are naturally inclined to want to play it, but what the game must have you do must be so much cooler. I
believe it.
So much more than just bumping around and doing little hits and stuff with your buddy. You know, it must want you to do so much more if it's fast tracking you through all of that stuff.
You are more than likely right, but my only thing, and this again, I want to. The personal opinion territory stamp, you know, it's been stamped. We're stamping it.
Okay.
As a person who loves video games, there's a big difference between telling me as the player that I should have an emotional connection to this other person and then letting me develop that through the story of the game. So in this cutscene, you meet, I don't remember his name. He's big fucking top knot guy in the Street Kid path.
Yeah.
It just comes out a week from now. So like most of y'all will know what I'm talking about. And you know what? By next week, maybe I'll think he's my favorite character. But in these first 20 minutes and judging solely from these first 20 minutes, I don't love the idea of like, you met this guy randomly, you survived being arrested, he wanted to take you out to lunch, and now the game is like, just trust us that you're best friends.
Yeah.
Like that's lame in my opinion. Like you can do that in a movie, like because it's film, and you could just expedite that, right? That's not a big deal. But for me, in video games, you're allowed to take your time as a video game. Let me do one or two of these gun missions you showed me in the cutscene. Okay. Develop a relationship and a rapport. Okay. But you know what though? Again, I'm only in the first 20 minutes. Maybe all these things I'm bitching about, they're gonna go do now. You know, like I'm gonna do a mission with this guy. I'm gonna be in the hot seat the whole time, and I'm gonna learn about him and everything that I got showed. Right? Maybe that's coming, and that's what I think you're getting at too, where it's like the game is going to be cool. But it's just a small gripe of mine, in my opinion.
See, this is what's interesting to me the more that I learn about video games and how video games are made from you, because that is such a gamer response.
Thank you, question mark. I don't know how to respond to that.
No, it's valid. It's valid. I'm going to explain to you why it's valid. Because from what I've learned about how video games are written and sort of like what you have to give the gamer, the player, I'll say. The player sounds more professional.
It's less gamer.
From what I've learned from what you want to give the player when you're building a video game is that you really do want to let them put their hands on it as much as possible.
Yeah.
Where, you know, because I know like film and TV a lot more. And it's just about, like, you were trying so hard to show and not tell.
Yes.
Like, that's just, when you're writing film and TV, like, it's so easy. And so many writers, especially when they're starting, so easily fall into the telling and not showing trap.
It's so easy.
And
anime is really bad for that.
And I feel like with games and building games, what's important is, like, yeah, showing and not telling is important, but because the player literally has, or the consumer, I'll say in this scenario, literally has their hands on the story with, like, via the controls, there's almost like a third aspect. It's like, yeah, sure, show, don't tell, but do
play
more than anything else.
Yep.
Play more than anything
it's play.
else.
Play is what separates.
There's another level.
It's what separates video games from movies and television.
Because me, with my, like, I'm more inclined to think about, like, movies and stuff. I enjoyed that montage. I was like, oh my God, I feel so much closer to this guy who's supposed to be my friend. I'm like, oh my God. Like, by the time you went through it all, or sorry, no, it's, by the time you went through it all, I was like, I'm close with this person. This is my close personal friend. I saw this character's mom on more than one occasions, and you see her, like, she kind of, like, holds your face, like, as the player. It's all POV.
It's very
but,
cute,
like,
yeah.
She holds your face and she, like, you know, touches your shoulder and, like, greets you.
There's a part when he reaches down to get some food and she, like, bats his hand away.
Yeah, in, like, a playful, cute sort of manner. And I'm like, okay, I'm close with this person. This person is my best friend in the whole world. They mean a lot to me. I'm very much connected to this character now. And by the end of the montage, I was like, perfect. You know, the game handed the controls back to you, and I was like, perfect. This is my best friend in the world. I love him so much. Let's go. Like, the rest of the story is gonna be, you know, partly about, like, keeping this relationship alive. I got it. But you, as someone who plays video games more than you watch movies and TV, you're like, let me get my hands on it. Let me get my hands on it. Let me get my hands on it. Whereas I'm more content to watch.
Yeah.
As long as I'm being shown and not told, I'm content. But I'm good to go.
And it's okay to do show in video games. Like, there's plenty of games that benefit from having awesome cutscenes.
Yeah.
Right? But there are also games that need to play more than they show.
Yeah.
And I can't stress enough. This is the first goddamn 20 minutes of this game.
Yeah.
I have not played this game yet.
Yeah. But I just thought that was so interesting because we were sitting there watching the same cutscene, having such vastly different opinions about how it was going. I was so lit and, like, so along for the ride and so content to just, like, be taken along on this experience.
It was a cool cutscene. It was.
Yeah, but I understand from your perspective why you were like, why don't I have my hands on this? I would like to do some of these things. I would like to rob some of these places. I would like to get into some of these fights and, like, actually have combat included in this section, you know?
I spent fucking...
I want to fuck this cyber girl.
I spent 45 minutes customizing my penis.
Yeah.
Why can't I be in the shoes of my player character? Why is it showing me what my character can do? It's my character. I want to live in this body.
That makes sense.
That's literally why I spent so much time designing them. Yeah. You know?
That's so fascinating to me.
Put it this way. Update on my Halo capades. I'm on the 5th Halo game.
Yeah.
Halo 5 Guardians.
Yeah.
The one no one likes.
Okay.
And it's...
Just keep it on the story. What are in reference to Cyberpunk? How is this bringing up Halo for you?
Halo does this thing where you walk down a hallway with your crew, your little fucking ragtag crew, and then it cuts into a cutscene of them doing awesome shit.
Right.
I don't give a fucking shit that they're doing awesome shit.
Yeah.
I want to do the awesome shit.
You're the player.
I want to skip down the mountain and shoot grunts and brain people with my sick pistol.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy that caught a grenade out of the air and threw it at someone else. You know, watching them do that might be like a weird save the cat and, like, work in, like, a film or TV, but it's a fucking video game. No one had to prove to me that Master Chief is cool. I got to see that Master Chief is cool because I'm Master Chief.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's what makes video games special.
Yeah.
Because it adds the play aspect.
Yeah.
It's the one thing you do. You don't play a movie. Sorry, I know I spit everywhere just now.
Yeah, you're getting the passion spits.
Passion Spits sounds like something you could buy in a grocery store, like the knockoff like Jones Cola.
Yeah,
Get the Passion Spits.
Passion spits are like fruity flavored sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Passion fruit flavored sunflower seeds.
No one had to prove to me that Mario wants to save Peach.
Yeah.
Because I want to save Peach.
Yeah.
Because I'm Mario.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
and you have to build, like, if you're going to have a cutscene where you want the player to want to save Peach, then, like, fine, do that. But ultimately, you have to let the player save Peach.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't take that away from them. They don't want to watch it. They don't want to watch it because this isn't a movie. It's a game. They want to do it.
Exactly. It's like, you don't play a TV show. You don't play a movie.
Yeah.
Unless you're like fucking Black Mirror or something.
Or what's that fucking POV movie that we saw way back?
Oh, Hardcore Henry.
Hardcore Henry.
That was a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to throw up afterwards.
Yeah.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, no,
I enjoyed
it gave me
that.
a headache. But yes,
but,
yeah, you don't want to play.
But basically, this conversation we're having right now, in my opinion, is what separates video games from other mediums.
Yeah.
It's what makes video games a unique experience. Whereas, like, I get why games like The Last of Us 2 is a good example of a game that is more cinematic, right? Naughty Dog does that. They make the Uncharted games, Last of Us games that are all very cinematic and movie-like.
Yeah.
And then what The Last of Us 2 does, and this is hotly debated, but in my personal opinion, The Last of Us 2 plays with your player agency. Because as Ellie, you're fucking doming people and killing all these people.
Yeah.
But then the game in the cutscenes turns around and tells you that you should feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But the issue that people take is that the agency should be that then if you're going to make me feel bad about it, that I should have the option not to kill. And I get where they're coming from, but you don't think that it's interesting that you don't have agency in this? Like it plays into Ellie's character arc and her narratives, and it ultimately builds up to this final cutscene where Ellie has to deal with the fact that she's not any different than Joel. You know? And like she doesn't want to be Joel, even though there is this very complicated relationship. You know what I mean? So I kind of lost my point, but like it's okay for games to be cinematic, but at the same time, if your game is being focused on good player experiences like Cyberpunk, like Halo, let them live that.
Yeah.
Give me the action movie
Give them
moment.
the fantasy.
Don't give me the cutscene where someone picks up a tank and uses like a baseball bat. I want to walk up to a tank and find out I can do that.
Yeah.
And then do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like that's what I think what makes video games special.
Yeah, totally. And it's so much cooler now because video games are so much more cinematic.
Totally.
Like the technology has improved that it looks better. The worlds have gotten, like they're better written.
Yeah.
And you want to explore that more, and you want to get your hands on it more.
Totally.
It's a very kinetic thing, video games, and you got to let the players do that. And
Exactly.
I totally get that.
Gotta let the players play.
And for what it's worth, I appreciate, because I'm so new, I appreciate things like friendly neighborhood mode on Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That take so much combat out, and like it really does. You watch a lot more than you play on that mode. For people like me, like some people don't mind watching more than they play, and let the player have that choice.
Sure.
And that's a beautiful thing, and I don't want it to go
Accessibility
away
options
soon.
are so important.
I am so pro easy mode. I don't give a fuck.
In my opinion, difficulty, they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
So use them accordingly.
Unless you're talking about From Software games, in which case the challenge is the thing.
It's
like,
literally
don't come here if you don't want a challenge.
It's the bread and butter. They're very upfront about it.
Respectable. Like, thank you for being upfront about it. But
they're not trying to trick you into playing this game.
yeah, like appreciate you giving me the choice. But yes, video games specifically are a medium about doing and getting your hands on it. So when you're building a narrative, when you're writing your story in video games, you have to consider when you're going to let the player play. Because you could very easily just get lost in like writing a really, really, really good story.
Yeah.
But you have to let them touch it at some point.
Yeah, and you know what? Like,
and all the meaty stuff. You got to hand over all the meaty stuff to the player.
There was one last thing I just wanted to say. I'm speaking very much about like character action games.
Yes.
Games where you play a character.
Of course.
That has a personality and abilities and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
there are games like Telltale games, which are straight up choose your own adventure movie style games.
Yeah.
And that is a different kind of player accountability. You're still making decisions and you're still hands-on, but it is far more narrative heavy. And I'm not trying to disparage these games. All my opinions are my own, and I play the games that I like, and this is what's reflected in the games that I like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But no, this is something I started a workshop. I didn't get to finish it, but a friend of mine works for like an indie game company in Montreal, and they were having a like how to write for video games workshop where you like had a task every month. And it was just a different aspect of writing for video games. And I learned a lot about how video games are written and how that's so much different.
It's very complicated.
Like, yes, there are scripts involved. And yes, there's like acting. And, the introduction of like really good mocap has allowed for, really, really, really great actors like Death Stranding fella.
Norman Reedus,
and dude who played Eyebrows Guy from We're the Millers, but he was in the Jedi game for Star Wars. You know that guy?
Oh, the main guy, yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, he was not We the Millers guy.
I was about to say that is not the same actor. Shameless guy.
Was in the Jedi thing, and Deborah Wilson was in that too. Oh my god, I love Deborah Wilson. But it's made way for like actors that we recognize from film and TV to enter this sort of video game realm, but it's still about playing, and you still have to let the players play the game.
It's not a video game if you're not playing it.
Yeah.
It's a visual novel. Which is fine.
Movie.
It's just not a video game.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's fascinating to me.
I'm not trying to be a purist either, right? Like, no, I take experiences as they go.
It's just fascinating. I really, that our experience this morning with just that quick, like 20-minute scene in Cyberpunk really opened my eyes to how differently we view video games still. And I really appreciated it.
Okay, I'm glad that my offhand comment sparked something interesting inside of you.
Yeah, because you were like, I want to do this. And I was like, no, shut up, Lena, I want to watch this.
Right.
So it was really cool.
I mean, yeah, man, like that's like, again, I'm going to sound like a fucking loser when I say this, but like video games are lived experiences.
Yeah.
You play them.
Yeah.
So those things happen to you.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people who love horror movies can't do horror games.
Right.
It's a big difference to be in the hot seat.
Yes.
Getting chased by a monster versus watching someone get chased by a monster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and again, I truly think like I'll say it to the day I die. Like this is what makes video games special. This is why people like video games. It's because you play them. You know what I mean? Get that sense of play. So many people, especially adults, lose their sense of play later in life.
Yeah.
And video games, in my opinion, helps rekindle that. Play is so important.
Yeah.
It's also why I love Dungeons and Dragons.
There you go.
Because you get to pretend for 3 hours with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's a valuable thing.
Yeah. It's like playing House, but so much more complicated.
Yeah. I mean, In recent years, Dungeons and Dragons, I've realized that like you don't need to include all the rules in Dungeons and Dragons. And my personal take on D&D 5e 5th edition. I know. I know. I don't want to anyway. Is that like cherry pick what you like and then make up the rest.
Cool.
Because it's all pretend anyway.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? Yeah. There's been times when I've turned to my group and been like, this is how this is going to work. And you just move on. All right, Sam, end the podcast then.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Chill Spot Podcast, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it. You can get us on Spotify. You can get us on Apple Podcasts. You can get us on Twitch and watch Cameron talk about video games even more if you liked the last quarter of this episode. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Google Podcasts. You can check us out on Podbean if that's your jam. And thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed. This was all over the place, as it always is. So come back next week for more.
We'll be back next Tuesday with more storms.
Woo!
Bye!